Hey, everybody, Kevin here with Pursuing Pixels, and welcome back to another edition of Save It for the Cast, and you know the drill by now. As per usual, I'm going to be kicking the ball over to, we got the full crew in the house this week, John, Randall, and I. You could probably tell I'm a little bit under the weather here, and not really, I just feel a little bit stuffed up, maybe with the seasons changing, because I really don't feel sick, but I definitely feel a little bit congested here, so apologies for the, stuffed up voice here, but yeah, nonetheless, I'll be kicking the ball over to John, Randall, and I in just a little bit here. Like I said, we got the full crew in the house. We're talking all sorts of video game action, mostly kind of episode coordinating. Like, I feel like all the conversation here just kind of stems off of, us discussing what we were going to talk about for this particular recording session. And we talk a little bit, we goof around talking a little bit about, our previous Best Buy days with Randall and I. We talk a little bit about the Wii Shop channel and the Wii U eShop and, a little Star Fox. We had, during this recording session, we had a little bit of a lag and delay with John. I think he was having some internet trouble on that particular night. So we thankfully got through the episode just fine, overall, but it was a little bit tricky, especially getting through the opening bits. But yeah, we found a few good chunks where we were like in good sync here for some, just some good conversation, mostly video game related, like I said. But as per usual, I'm going to talk about some of the stuff that I've been playing. Although, like I mentioned last week, or last Save It for the Cast, I should say, we were just kind of getting ready to kick off the Pursuing Pixels Game Jam Game Jam, the 4th annual for that matter. And we just wrapped that up last Monday, or I guess last Tuesday at midnight. We extended the rating by one day, but we had yet once again our biggest jam yet. Not by a huge number of games, but definitely by a huge number of ratings. We had like far and away, I think last year we had a little under 700, like that ratings meaning like, people that went on and actually voted and rated, a game. And we had like, I think nearly 1,300 this year, just under 12 or just under 1,300, a little over 1,200. Somewhere in that range. I guess I haven't pulled it up in a couple days, but it was just an absolutely awesome experience. The Game Jam every year just really gets my juices flowing. It just gets me so inspired to see the stuff that people make. And I guess I'll run through the top 3 winners here, or, quote unquote winners. And I'll mention a few other games that, caught my interest as well. The theme this year, once again, was positioning. So we had a handful of games that kind of like, took some similar ideas with some themes, but the winners were definitely like some real standouts. The number one, which was actually number one across every category, it was called Lavis. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that 100% right, but it was like a 2D platformer, precision puzzle platformer, mostly single screen levels for the most part. I don't think there was any scrolling actually at all. And the cool part about this game, and then there was a little bit of like mouse controlled puzzle elements. So it'd show you a stage with all the platforms, walls, everything. And you could see them all. And then to start off, you just get these regular fireflies that you can put, anywhere on the stage by clicking on them with your mouse, dragging them into the, area of the stage, and then placing them somewhere. And they kind of have like a radius of light that they affect. So then if you put it near one of those platforms, let's say, now when you start the actual level to play it, that firefly will be lighting up or illuminating that platform so you can see it, and therefore you can jump on it. But you have to kind of like strategically place these fireflies. For example, there might be like a wall blocking you from getting to the other side of the level when you see the whole thing. But if you place the fireflies just right, you can leave a gap in that wall so that you can still like jump and do your dash through it. Pretty simple mechanics on the platforming side. It's just like a jump and a dash, a little bit stiff. Like it probably needs just like a little bit of fine tuning to make it feel a little bit more fluid. But nonetheless, like the level design was just so clever. The aesthetic was just out of control. It was mostly, other than a few different like firefly power-ups that they add along the way, that just add in some new mechanics, which I won't spoil because it's a short and sweet game. So I'll let you check it out for yourself. Here, I'll put a link to the jam submissions, and then you can see the top 3 from there, and check out some of the other ones as well, because it's not just the top 3 that are worth playing. Once again, we had almost 70 games, and almost all of them were a blast. I played just about every game this year. I played every game that I could get to run on my computer, and man, I really think this was the strongest batch we've had yet. And yeah, Lavis just clean sweeped every category. It was just absolutely awesome. Then in second place was, I think it's called Was, or maybe Was. It's just WAS. This is from our friends over at Super Try, Kevin Cole, who we've had on the podcast before. And they just knocked this one out of the park as well. This is like kind of like another game where you're doing some mouse controls and then also controlling like a 2D platforming character in another, portion of the screen. Where Lavis is kind of doing it in two phases. Wuz is doing it all at the same time. And basically you're, using mouse and keyboard, which it's primitive enough platforming, at least so far in the bits that I played, where I could just play with my, or maybe I did have the controller rigged up. I can't remember now. But nonetheless, it wasn't like the most crazy precision platforming. It was mostly more about like the puzzle solving, and you have your inventory system on the right side of the screen. And like Resident Evil style, you have to like move everything around to make sure it can all fit on like your, I think it's a 5x5 grid. And then included in that grid are actually, I was playing on mouse and keyboard because I was definitely using these controls. You have like the WASD keys for your arrow keys, essentially for the movement. And then you have to place, like, for example, you get like a bow and arrow a little later on, and you have to place that bow and arrow like touching the W key so to make sure that it activates it. If it's not touching one of the keys, it doesn't have to be W, but if it's not touching one of the keys that you're using for gameplay, like then you aren't able to trigger that. And then they even start throwing in elements into the game where you get like a boom box, and it's not even part of the game, but then you'll get like cassette tape, or you get a few different cassette tapes as the game goes on, and then you have to like put the boom box into your inventory, then put the cassette tape above it, and then it pops in, and then you can just take the boom box out of your inventory and it just starts playing the song, and then it will eventually end, and then you're like, okay, if I want to play some more music on this stage, I got to put the boombox back in the grid, find a way to juggle things around. Obviously, it's not necessary. You don't need the music. But it was just such an awesome experience. It even ended with a to be continued at the end, and I was like, oh, I can't wait to see what they do. Because even with that bow and arrow, for example, the other like kind of quote unquote gimmick or whatever you want to call it, mechanic, if you double click on any of those items, it'll rotate them 90 degrees. So for example, that bow and arrow takes up like 3 tiles vertically and 3 tiles horizontally. So I guess it's like, 2 and then 1 connected one. I don't know if I'm not going to explain that right, but nonetheless, you just got to like shift it around. But if you leave it in the grid, rotate it 90 degrees, and it's, in the way of another object that you have, like even like your legs walking right and left are connected to another mechanic. So like it might knock one of those out of the way, and then you're like, oh, now I can't walk to the left now. Now I got to add this, figure out a way to juggle these back in, and you can, okay, I can wedge this in sideways. Like I don't necessarily have to use the D key to walk to the left. I can use W or use S or whatever it might be. You can shift things around. So I'm really excited to see what they do with some more time on that one. The aesthetic was out of control, and the music was amazing. It really reminded me, it's like real funky. It reminded me of playing Everyday Shooter back in the day on PS3. Just like, I don't know, it had that real similar energy to that, like just guitar driven, but like kind of noodly and like a little bit like meandering. I don't know. It was just really awesome stuff. And then in third place was a game called Sticky Sheepshuation. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that quite right either, but this is like kind of like, imagine like a super physicsy reverse Jenga almost. You're like it gives you like a certain number of sheep, and it's got like a really great like pixel art aesthetic, and then you just fling them onto like this stack of sheep by like tossing them from either side of the screen with the mouse controls. And then once they like hit the stack of sheep, they really like the physics are like not realistic at all. Like it feels very much like World of Goo, where like especially once you get like a pretty high tower going, it's just swaying side to side in the wind, or even just not necessarily in the wind, but just from the momentum from the last sheep that you threw onto the pile. And then it just starts swaying back and forth, and you're just trying to get it to not tip over all the way. But again, it's very generous. Like eventually it will tip over, but it really will start like swaying. Like the physics are not realistic at all, but they're consistent with like what you're seeing, if that makes sense. And it was just like a really cute, fun little game. I was really happy to see a game that, was more of like a novelty, almost like a toy sort of experience, apart from the fact that you're just trying to stack it up as high as you can get. Although I do think that high score portion of the game seemed a little bit broken at the moment, because it was just giving me like random scores. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm lower than I was before, or I definitely didn't add any height. And it would just give me like another, 150 meters or whatever the measurement system was. But it was just like a cool little relaxing, fun little like pseudo puzzle game. Like you could definitely add some elements into the game to make it more, puzzly, or like different things like, oh, here's a, just sheeps with different traits or something, where they're heavier or stickier or less sticky. I don't know. I can't think of any good ideas off the top of my head right now, but just a fun little game that was like, kind of a little time waster toys type experience. But I do think there's some potential to make a bigger game there. And then just a few other entries I wanted to give a quick shout out to. There was another game called Mirrorbot, which was like a top-down Sokoban puzzles, block pushing style game that was really great. Like really the only thing that game needed is like an undo button or a reset button so that you can undo your moves, because you can really kind of like push one of the mirrors like they're typically in like a 45-degree angle tile that you can push and then redirect these laser beams to trigger different switches or unlock certain things. And sometimes you'll like rotate one too many against the wall, or push it up into the corner in particular or against the wall, and like, oh, now I can't move it back, and now I got to reset the whole level over again. So I didn't play all the way through that one, but I know they were talking about doing some post-jam updates, and that's one that I was like right on, like pretty much as is, a few more levels maybe, but I would pretty much purchase this game as is. And then a lot of people ended up making, like with the theme being positioning, we had quite a few games that were based around like you get a series of different like either tiles or characters, but in most cases, yeah, you're like placing them down on a grid. Like there were a couple plant-based games, one that was plant-based games. That just sounded kind of funny. I bet it was just games themed around plants as opposed to being edible. But nonetheless, just an idiotic joke there. Or not unintentional joke there. But there was a game also about like placing ghosts into like their gravestones or into their like, resting sites. But they all had like different personality traits, and you had to, put them next to one another. Like it was all about positioning and putting them. And there was another one with different planets, another Pico 8 game, Dailyverse. And then Misbegraved. I think it was Dailyverse. I feel like I'm drawing a blank on the name on that one for some reason. But nonetheless, like a lot of these games that were all based around like, okay, this particular plant likes being next to these other types of plants, but doesn't like being near these, and likes being in the shade, but not too much water. And you got to like strategically place everything so that, everyone's as happy as they can be. And then get the, highest point total. Like in Misbegraved, it was all like, I really liked that one because number one, the aesthetic was amazing, but then also, like it didn't give you like a flat out, like it was just like this person's friendly, this person's grumpy, talkative, flirty, just like kind of like a personality trait. So it wasn't like a flat out puzzle. Like by the end of it, I was just kind of doing some trial and error, and just throwing them into their spots and hoping I could get the point total that I needed. But at the end of the day, I really, really thought that was a cool take on it, especially because I wasn't sitting there racking my brain like in some of the other ones where I was thinking like, okay, this one can be next to, like in Dailyverse, like this one can be next to a planet, but it's like you're kind of like building a little solar system in that one, but it can't be next to a black hole or a star, but it likes being next to, more moons or something like that. It was just like so many cool takes on that one kind of principal idea that I thought was just awesome to see. But yeah, I've been doing a little bit of other gaming outside of the Game Jam stuff, but I think I'm going to save some of that for when Randall and John are back on the podcast. I feel like we got some stuff that we can, cross paths on a little bit that we both, or that we've all been doing some gaming on and have some similar, crossover games there. And yeah, I've been playing a few other things, but I think I'll table some of those for later as well. I've even been playing a little World of Goo on the Switch now that I mentioned it a little bit earlier. But yeah, I think I'll save that for another time, along with Grapple Dog Cosmic Canines, or maybe it's Grapple Dogs Cosmic Canines. But I did start that one up finally after scooping it up recently on sale. And I was a huge fan of the first one, so I can definitely just say I'm having fun so far. It's a little more complicated with two different characters and some twin stick shooting with that second character, but so far, the little bit into the first world I've played, it's just more of the same awesome action. But again, I'll save that for another time too, and leave this intro kind of pursuing Pixels, James Jam, Game Jam focused. But yeah, until next week, I guess we'll catch you then, and I'll kick it over to John, Randall, and I for a little more video games chit chat before we wrap things up here. And take care, everybody.
one of the reasons why I was late was because, I'll save it for the cast, but I was playing 3U again right before the recording.
Nice.
And let me tell you, Wilds is built for speed and efficiency, and 3U is built for fuck you. Like, you think...
I feel like that sounds about right.
You think 40 minutes is enough time to complete one hunt, you idiot?
Oh, man. I guess, I don't know. I've been playing more of, the most I've played of anything is Kirby Star Allies.
I mean, we can also still do that. I'm going to talk Fantasy Life regardless in the future.
Yeah. I'm just trying to figure. So I've definitely played the most of that. I've only played like a little bit of the first world of Woolly World. And then I did beat Star Fox 64 on 3DS. And then I played a good chunk of a run on like the 64 on Switch.
Yeah.
So I could talk about, like, I was going to do that. And then if Randall needed some padding, I had the Elevator Action Returns, which I've been playing actually quite a bit of as well.
I think you should save the Star Fox one for when John is up to speed, though. To be honest with you.
Yeah.
But when I can react to things timely,
Yeah, even the Kirby stuff to a degree.
Yeah, that's fair
man.
too.
And for what it's worth, I just knocked on wood a second ago. We'll do another clap before we start, because right now the timing seems good.
Yeah.
No, fingers crossed, but I don't fucking trust it.
Yeah, I definitely don't trust it, but nonetheless, at least we know it can go in and out, and we can kind of lean around that. So I guess if anybody starts experiencing like, hey, this is like meltdown mode, I can't hear anything, like, I guess just like speak up and we can try to take pauses if we need to, hopefully we won't, but if we need to take a quick pause and like wrap up a section and be like, okay, let's pick it back up. And
we could re-clap after a pause too, and then use that as a resync point. So
good call. But yeah, sorry, what's crazy, I didn't know that Star Fox 64, I think I said this in the Discord, but the 3DS remake was made by Q Games, which are the people who make the Pixel Junk games. I was what the hell? And they made Star Fox Command as well. Or at least co-developed it with Nintendo, and I was like, man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
They've done like quite a few other games outside of the Pixel Junk. I don't even own that one. I can't believe I never picked that up at some point.
Yeah, that one was really cheap at Best Buy too. That's how I ended up grabbing it.
Yeah, I'm surprised, because that's when I got into the DS and got my DS and everything. I'm surprised I didn't just scoop it up, like, hey, Star Fox for cheap.
Yeah.
But I never picked that up, and I never picked up Mario 64 3D or whatever.
I did on that one a lot
Not
later.
3D, but
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why I never picked those up, because you know what? Those ones never did go down to like $20.
No.
They were always like the full 30 or 35.
I tell you what, that shit feels pretty good with the circle pad though on 3DS, because I did try that.
Yeah.
And it
Star
feels
Fox
good.
Command was released on the Wii U Virtual Console service.
I know. I saw a video of that online when I was looking it up, and I was like, I totally forgot that they even released DS games on the Wii
I kind of did too.
Virtual Console. I
But
never
also,
bought one.
Wow.
That would have been great. That would have been really fucking good to have bought. Oh well.
Yeah.
I know. I got all excited when I popped in. I can't remember what Wii U game I popped in the other day, but it took me to the eShop for something, and I was like, oh, and you can still browse the eShop. You just can't buy anything.
Why?
Wow.
Yeah,
What
it makes no
cruelty.
sense. I guess they gotta leave it up so that you can still download
That's gotta be it.
updates and stuff like that.
Yeah,
or,
to download this stuff.
or re-download,
Yep.
but still. Which I guess at least they didn't fully take it down, so that if you do need to, but still.
I mean, they
Right.
did that
Except we're
with
not
the
gonna trust
Wii somewhat recently. Ish. It would have been before I transferred it over. That's not recent. I don't know what time is.
They took it down fully.
Yeah, I don't think you can access the Wii shop at all. I think that one's gone.
Oof.
Yeah, I think it's totally gone. I believe.
Oof.
Well, yeah, that's a good question. Now that you say that.
I'm pretty sure that what I did was there was something that was a notice that they were going to do that, because that's how I have all of my games for the Wii downloaded, and they're some of them are on an SD card, some of them are
Same.
somewhere.
Even tunneling through Wii U, could you get to the Wii shop? I thought that's what I did.
But
They do
I
have
think
the
that's how
shop channel on there, but I don't know if it functions anymore.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
God, I definitely miss
that's-
browsing
man.
with music in the background.
Yeah.
Like it's just such a subtle little effect. This one website, I think it's Nintendo Life, made they called it the better eShop, which was so dumb. They were like, it's easier to browse. Like it's like, no, it's not. It doesn't have trailers on it. It's like this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. But nonetheless, they had like a music thing, and I was like, I wonder what. I was like, did they really like write a song for this? And I went to it and you could turn on the sound and it was just the Wii like eShop music. And I what is kind of cool. He did that.
It's like, did he do the?
But yeah, it was so dumb. I was like, what is this better eShop?
It was what is it? Kazumi Totaka did all the Wii music.
Phenomenal music.
It's so good. I really miss, like, even when I turn on my PS4 and it just has that like like this weird ambient noise. I'm like, I kind of miss when like that like is part of the experience. It makes it feel, it's so dumb, but it just makes me feel like I'm getting like sucked into the video game. Like especially when you like turn out the lights and the screen's just kind of waving and sparkling, and you're just like, all right, let's play some video games, man. It like gets me in the mood.
Yep.
And the Wii would do that too with just that like beep 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 boop, 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 you know, that like ambient noise in the background. I just love that shit.
Me
man.
too.
And the download music, like as you, like a thing was downloading, it was like, I don't feel bad like just having this on in the background. I know it's gonna take an hour, but
every once in a blue moon you'd get the fireball.
Then you can just push the
Mario, and
button
like, oh yeah, I can throw some fireballs.
Yeah.
And then every once in a while you'd watch Mario run like screen after screen after screen without ever picking up a coin. And you're like, oh my god, this is never gonna download.
Ba-ding, for a good like 25 seconds there.
It really was pretty satisfying. Man, I gotta definitely flesh out my DS collection with a few of those games. You know what game I thought was cost a fortune these days, but apparently does not?
Hit me.
Is Planet Puzzle League. I don't know why. I could have sworn when I used to like look for that game, it was like over $100, and it's like not even $20.
Yeah, I do I kind of feel the same, that I like when I picked it up, knew it was cheaper, but then I feel like it went through a period of like, oh, like they're not going to make these type of puzzle league games anymore, and like got kind of expensive, I thought, but
because I thought like Tetris DS, it's still up there a little bit, but I feel like that one's even come down.
That was definitely an expensive one. Yeah,
I feel like some of those puzzle games, and Meteos was another one that like was just like impossible to find, and people, I guess I'll just get the Disney Meteos,
right,
and live with it.
Planet Puzzle is good. It's not.
I love that game.
Yeah,
you and Milton, I think both had it, and I would play it, you know, a couple times either at your place or his place or whatever. Just something about holding that screen vertically and like just being able to move those puzzle pieces as fast as you actually want them to.
Yeah,
or as fast as you actually want to. Or like when you play like the traditional like Tetris Attack or whatever. You know, you got to move the cursor around by hand, like one tile at a time. It just feels so satisfying to take that stylus and just boom, 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 boom. It's almost like breaks the game a little bit.
It's a little cheesy. It cheeses a little bit, but it's still really fun.
Yeah. And even to be fair, that Tetris DS is like, you can kind of cheese that a little bit spinning. Too. Not even with the touchscreen, but you can just spin like infinitely. I was like, this is the only Tetris I've ever been good at. You can just spin this block until indefinitely until I find a spot to put it.
Yeah. No, I've grabbed a couple of DS games relatively recently because I was watching some videos about like ones maybe I didn't grab in the moment. Legend of Cage 2 with like a Taito release kind of caught my interest. I'm like, yeah, okay, that looks pretty cool.
Yeah. I vaguely remember that one coming out. Yeah. And now that you mentioned that, I kind of remember that like Prince of Persia game coming out. It was like kind of like a spin-off tie-in with that other Prince of Persia game that was on consoles that was like had that cell shaded look.
Yeah.
And then they had that one that you almost like played as like a kid version of Prince of Persia. Like I just vaguely remember that game coming out when we worked at Best Buy and just being like, oh, this looks kind of cool. I never scooped it up.
They booted me by that point, I think. That's 2008. They told me they didn't need my services anymore by then.
I feel like you didn't really get like fired though. You were like working like 1 day a week, and they were just like, okay, let's be real. Like you don't want to work here. Even when you're here, you don't really work.
Gave it my presence was felt for a solid 4 hours there. Yeah.
Yeah, I loved it, man. I loved working with you, man.
Tuesdays or whatever.
Yeah.
Nobody's in there.
Yeah. They're just like, hey, we need this gap to fill. This is like, we don't have to change the schedule if we just keep Randall on the team, man.
We need a warm body.
Mm-hmm.
That's so true. I can't tell you. Like, I definitely was like way more myself, like way back in the day on like AIM, like goofing around with people that I like wouldn't even talk to at school. Like, I'd maybe say hi to them. It's not like I would be like, oh my God, I'm not talking to them. But like, it would be like I would have like great friends on AIM that I barely fucking talked to at school. You know, it was weird. Yeah. You know, I'd have like a class with them or
so
something, and just like
forums.
Yeah, more forums or like in-game message boards was a big thing in like Worms Armageddon or whatever games I was playing and during those like late middle school, early high school period, and definitely was a lot more outgoing in those spaces and like message board forums.
Yeah.
Those would be my main places.
Yeah, I used to do a lot of like the pop punk forums and stuff, you know. And just like, I can't think it was Absolute Punk or something like that, .net. Or I don't know. There's a few. That might have just been a store that you could buy stuff on. I don't know, but it was something I'd
we are ancient.
Just, like, talking about like
we are talking about a version of the internet that has not existed for
a very long time.
Time capsule of a time capsule.
That just made me sad. The way the way you framed that just made me pretty sad.
It's accurate though. Although I think there's enough people. There's a groundswell of people yearning for the days of blogs and forums and you know that sort of internet lifestyle. I could see a little bit of a comeback happening, to be honest.